Happy Thanksgiving, damn it. This is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. And I understand that about half my audience probably doesn't celebrate Thanksgiving, but half of my audience does, so again, gobble gobble, damn it. I want to share with you a few things in this video. As it turns out, there's been an interesting surge in new XRP accounts being created, daily accounts. The numbers are just off the charts compared to where they were recently. Now, the initial spike clearly started because of the FTX collapse. As that was going down, people the world over, even people who had their XRP on exchanges that wasn't FTX, they decided that maybe self-custody is a good idea. And it's the biggest damn surge we've seen in terms of new XRP accounts in a long while. But what's interesting is, even after a little bit of a pullback, it seems to be sustaining itself. At least it has for the last few days, so we'll see to what degree it continues. But it wasn't expected. This is different than what we saw after the Luna collapse and, the contagion that spread from there. It's a little bit different in that regard. I'll show you so you can see with your own human eyeballs. Also, I want to share with you a brief story about a hedge fund billionaire who had his aha moment when it comes to crypto, and he realized that it's going to be around forever. And the reason I want to highlight it is because, yes, this guy, billionaire skeptic turned believer, his aha moment was basically the same as mine, which is rare. Like, my aha moment, I'm sure other people have had it too, but I hadn't read about it anywhere. The aha moments I would always read about in terms of why people decided they believe in crypto, it has to do with bad monetary policy for fiat currencies. It always stems to that. For me, I had a completely different reason. But before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this, market's not looking bad relative to what's happened the last couple weeks or so, given FTX and all that jazz. We actually have, over the last 36 hours or so in particular, seen markets rebound. XRP's at 38 cents. Bitcoin recently down to, 15,600 or so. It's now at 16,659. Market cap for the asset class, 858 billion. Bitcoin dominance at 37.3%. And you've got the Crypto Fear and Greed Index at 20 out of 100. So people be experiencing some extreme fear. Now take a look at this. I did want to share this tweet from Income Sharks, chart analyst Income Sharks, because it resonated with me. And he tweeted out, #Bitcoin. Majority calling for $10,000 or lower will not even buy there if it happens. Targets will shift lower and lower. If you are scared to buy now, you'll be terrified lower. And so that rings true to me, and I do tend to see this in a lot of the typical retail lemming speculators out there. And not that I pretend to know where prices are going to go, I plainly don't. But I don't care. Once there's a massive pullback in the market and prices go low, I suddenly become enticed. And so I plop down what to me is subjectively a large chunk of change. It was in my checking account. I had it on the sidelines just in case we got a wild card incident, and we got one. So I plopped down a big chunk. I've got more to deploy should things get worse. But, it just is the case that, for instance, when Bitcoin bottomed out on December 15th, 2018, because, and mind you, a year before that, it had hit its then all-time high of close to $20,000. It bottomed out about a year later at around $3,200. And at that point, people were always calling for lower and lower. The whole way down, they're calling for lower. It'll go to $2,000, it'll go to $1,000, and people were waiting for it. They thought it was going to happen. And it could have, but you'd had such a massive pullback at that point. If you're a believer in crypto, then you would think that it would bounce back anyway. So it's like, if you're waiting for something lower, aren't you risking missing the boat? And the answer is yes, in my opinion. So that's not me telling you to buy or sell or hold. You do whatever you want. I don't give a damn. I'm just sharing with you my thoughts on the topic here. But that's why right now, even though I'm just sharing with you, I spent, what is to me subjectively a lot of money, some of the largest purchases I've ever made, and I've been in crypto over 5 years now, just within the last couple weeks, because of this market tanking. I'm telling you, if we actually do see Bitcoin at some of these levels that some people are calling for, like $10,000 or $12,000, I'm not predicting that, but I'm just saying, if it were to occur, I will be more enticed, because I don't know where the bottom is. Like, oh, cool, well, more opportunity then. I will buy the ever-loving hell out of people's fear. That's the way I approach it, because I am a genuine believer in this. The crypto asset class is here to stay, period. I firmly believe in the long-term viability of XRP specifically, and I'm increasingly confident in Bitcoin because we already saw the layer 2 scaling solution necessary to make Bitcoin usable as a peer-to-peer cash system, which is what it was originally intended to be. If you go ask a Satoshi Nakamoto, if you could get him on the phone line, he'd say it was a peer-to-peer cash system, electronic cash system. That was the intent. Well, that problem's actually been solved without Lightning Network. And so as soon as I recognized that, I was like, well, damn. Why wouldn't I be more bullish on Bitcoin than before, Because it's already in place. And I understand it's the least technologically sophisticated cryptocurrency, but there's something to be said for cryptocurrencies that just become a standard. It's the same thing like when you had format wars with, what was it called? VHS, and what was the other one? Betamax, I think is what it's called. Or HD DVD versus Blu-ray about 15 years or so ago. Once something becomes a standard, though, it's hard to supplant. Bitcoin already is, to this point, a standard. And if it gets additional utility, my gosh, I don't know why it would go away at that point, frankly. To me, that's exciting. I'm pro-Bitcoin. I'm going to be critical of it where it makes sense to be critical, which is a lot of places, to be honest with you. But, I mean, if it can actually be used to buy real stuff, and it can now, that's kind of a big deal. So we'll see what happens. But wow, and I'm referencing Spin the Bits, of course, for those of you who are wondering what I'm talking about. But yeah, if we see lower price, you better believe it. I'll absolutely be ready to buy it. So I'll have the opposite response. I think it's the lower we go, the less likely I think it is that we'll go even lower. And I think that's a reasonable approach. But I'll keep purchasing and with excitement given the opportunity. And then there was also this, and it is neat to see a continued accumulation. There was this chart from on-chain analyst Will Clemente. It says Bitcoin supply held by on-chain entities between the size of 0.1 Bitcoin and 1 Bitcoin is mooning, while exchange balances have gotten drained. Love to see the small fish stacking sats and taking self-custody. So this is a cool chart. And you can see the gray lines, that's the price for Bitcoin. And then the purple line is the Bitcoin supply held by entities with anywhere from 0.1 Bitcoin to 1 full Bitcoin on chain, meaning not on exchange. And it's just been spiking. So as I've been sharing with you, most of the people in the market who are scared, they've already exited the market, which isn't to say things can't go lower, especially if you get another wild card event. Okay, cool. Or the contagion spreads. Yeah. That makes sense to me. But I'm just saying, even so, look at how the humans are now behaving. I understand extreme fear if you look at the crypto fear and greed index, but my God, look at the ones that aren't fearful. This is what you always see when you're in the process of developing a bottoming structure effectively. And I'm not pretending to be a chart guy. I just know that as a non-chart guy. That's just common wisdom, frankly. And it's interesting to see this as well. Here's xrpscan.com. This chart in the middle of your screen is the number of new accounts, and I changed the date range going back to May 1st of this year. And I want to make a point here. So if you look where I'm highlighting, for those of you that care to see, I'm highlighting May 12th. So this is right after the Luna collapse, and a lot of people were freaking out, didn't know what was going on, and not surprisingly, even though it didn't specifically have something to do with XRP, resulted in a whole bunch of people taking self-custody of their coins. When people get fearful, they want to hold the thing themselves. They don't know what's happening, or is there going to be trouble with exchanges too, this or that. And so there were 3,135 new accounts created on May 12th this year. And before that, we were hovering like a normal day would be like 1,000 to 1,100 new accounts per day. And then it went back down. But the contagion spread. After the collapse of Luna, if you look at June 13th, there's another spike here. 2,438. If memory serves, I think this was the Celsius collapse. And then it went back down a bit. But then you saw another spike July 2nd. And if memory serves, I could be wrong. You can fact check me. It's fine. I believe this was the collapse of Voyager. You had another spike right here. 2,879 accounts created. And then it went back down, mostly traded sideways. You saw a couple little jumps up here and there. But that's pretty much it. Until you saw the mammoth, the big bad mammoth JAMA jump here. This is on November 13th. The biggest jump, even though the collapse of FTX was days earlier, was trending upwards. 9,934 new accounts. So that was way bigger. This scared people, I think, a lot more than the stuff with Luna. And it has the potential to be even bigger. We'll see. I don't know. I don't say it to scare people. It's just I think that's a fair statement. It might be bigger in terms of the contagion effect. We'll see. At a minimum, it's pretty clear that people were more scared than, and to some degree, it makes sense. Like, you're talking about the world's second largest exchange. That means that people that have XRP on any exchange, they'd be that much more scared. So that makes sense. And I understand Celsius was holding coins too for people, but it was a smaller entity, and you'd already had the Luna collapse, so it didn't have as big of an impact. When you're talking FTX, turns out it's a Ponzi scheme. Yeah, that scared the ever-loving hell out of people, which is why we had this big pump. But what I wanted to point out is after the worst of the fear died off, we got to this point where for at least the last, call it 4 days or so, we're still hovering around 3,500 new accounts per day for several days. And that's different than what we saw with Luna and the contagion that spread earlier this year. So I just thought I'd note it. I don't know why that is. I don't pretend to know. If you have any theories, let me know, but I find it fascinating. And then there's this article from the Daily Huddle. Hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman reverses stance on crypto after years of skepticism. Here's why. And I love this. So this is who I was referencing at the outset of the video. The conclusion he ultimately came to, after being a skeptic for a very, very, very long time, is the same conclusion I came to that I've been articulating the whole time I've been running this channel. And so check this out. Piece reads as follows. Billionaire investor Bill Ackman has taken a completely different stance on crypto after being skeptical of the space for years. Ackman, the founder and chief executive of the hedge fund Pershing Square Capital Management, says crypto's ability to facilitate fraud initially drove his skepticism of digital assets. And I'll pause and note, I always think that that's a little bit silly. I've always thought that because you can have fraud with the dollar, and there's more fraud with the dollar than in crypto, and that's provably true. I don't mind people's brains going there to try and analyze it and figure out, but after you analyze it, if the conclusion that you come to is, oh yeah, you could use a technology for a bad thing, what's that mean? Don't have the technology? Well, the internet can be used and is used for bad things. Should we just not have the internet? I mean, there were people in the mid-90s that literally were pushing for internet users to have to be licensed. I kid you not. So it's more like set rules in place and then just punish the people that break the rules. That seems more reasonable rather than being skeptical of the usefulness of the technology. But he came around, to his credit, this billionaire hedge fund guy, he came around and he came to the same conclusion that I came to in November of 2017 after being in crypto for all of like a week or two. At some point very early on, it did hit me and I was like, oh, this is never going away. So check out the quote from the billionaire investor Bill Ackman, hedge fund guy. He said, I was initially a crypto skeptic, but after studying some of the more interesting crypto projects, I have come to believe that crypto can enable the formation of useful businesses and technologies that heretofore could not be created. The ability to issue a token to incentivize participants in a venture is a powerful lever in accessing a global workforce to advance a project, end quote. So there you go. Let me translate that just in case it was confusing. The reason that he's saying he's bullish on crypto, he went from skeptic to believer, is because it makes possible business models that are valuable that otherwise could not exist. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been following me for a while, you probably know this. I've been saying for the longest damn time, my aha moment was when I recognized that business models that are valuable could exist because of decentralized cryptocurrencies that just have an open market price that otherwise couldn't exist. And the one that made me recognize that, the one crypto that made me recognize that first, was XRP, in understanding its position as a bridge currency via on-demand liquidity, which back then was known as XRapid. That was the first moment that I was like, oh, wow. And then I understood the importance of the entire ecosystem, ultimately in decentralization, all that jazz. But that was it. And so for most people, it's like, why are you a believer in crypto? The standard answer, I even to this day that I mostly see, it has something to do with fiat currency. For me, it was no. I'm the first one that I knew in my life that came to this conclusion. Not that I was the first one to come to that conclusion. I'm the first one I knew of. This wasn't an idea somebody fed to me and then I believed it. I came to this conclusion. I was like, this makes businesses possible that otherwise couldn't exist. And I got really excited about it. And I'm still excited about it. And it is true. So it was like a different way to coming to the position of I do indeed believe I am a believer. And that's why I'm that excited. It is that big, and there's almost no money in the space even today. There's way more than 5 years ago, fine, but I'm just saying, So people end up coming around, but like it all takes time. It's early. People are still trying to figure this out, but my God, the opportunity. It is true. This is not just something that I'm not the only one, obviously, now it's very clear, that has come to that precise conclusion. The billionaire investor Bill Ackman, hedge fund guy, came to the same damn conclusion. And not that he was thinking of XRP or talking about XRP, he wasn't. That's not the point. There will be other cryptocurrencies that do other things, non-XRP. I hold about 30 different cryptocurrencies. I hope a number of them stick around. I think most of them are probably going to fail, go to zero. A lot of them, honestly, I'm just riding. Well, a lot of them I bought years ago anyway. But I understand the market moves in tandem to this point, so I'm just kind of riding it out. And my biggest positions are the ones that I believe solve real problems for real people. The utility coins like XRP, for example. So, what a time to be alive, folks. I hope you're as excited as I am. I don't care about the bear territory stuff. No. I'm sorry for everybody that suffered for the FTX scam, of course, and my net worth is down as well, but specifically for the people that had their funds on the platform. But it is what it is, and this is the position we're in, and I'm going to take advantage of the position that I found myself in. It's only logical and reasonable to do so. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Family Sedan!